All right, where was I? So I waited for a little bit, and I knew eventually I was going to make this piece. I just knew that I could wait till the right time, and so the right time came, which was I did a recent trip to Palestine, as we're calling it, the West Bank. More specifically, we spent most of our time in Bethlehem and in suburbs of Bethlehem. There's always this moment, like right before I put the first piece of paint on the canvas, where it's like all this potential exists and this hesitancy and this like unknown, where it's like I'm just like stirring, like not that I need to stir, but I'm like stirring, just pausing, waiting, soaking in the moment. All right, and now we paint. And I'm just going to be slopping on blue paint. It's not like there's any precision being done here, at least at first. So I went on this program to, wow, this paint is not how I remember it being. I went on this program to Bethlehem called Encounter, and it was, it's a program where Jews, mostly American Jews, living in Israel, specifically not Israelis, go to meet with Arabs living in the West Bank. And it's not Israelis because Israeli law forbids Israeli citizens from going to some of the places we went, and that's a complicated situation, and it has to do, I think, in part with safety issues and with Palestinian autonomy in some of these areas, limited autonomy, not full autonomy, but the West Bank is divided into areas of increasing Palestinian self-rule and self-control, and so that's one of the factors that plays in, but it's intended for Jews living in America, and maybe one Canadian. I think the rest of us were all Americans, and so we met with mostly Christians, but Muslims as well. It happened that we were in a part of Bethlehem that is has more Christians than Muslims, I believe, and perhaps as well the people doing coexistence work and nonviolent activism and peace and love and harmony might be easier to find Christians than Muslims who are coordinating with Israeli groups in that regard. But so one of the people we spent a lot of time with is named Sami Awad, and he's an Arab Christian and is doing some really amazing and inspiring work in nonviolent activism, and following in the footsteps of all the various other nonviolent activists throughout history. And he talked a little bit about Gandhi, but I feel like there was something substantial that he kind of parted ways with Gandhi. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, so we met with him, and we met with other people from his organization, which is called the Holy Land Trust. You can Google that. And we went to a school, which is a interfaith kind of non-denominational effort that is outside of Bethlehem, called the Hope Flowers School, and that also has a strong ethos of coexistence and nonviolence, and so we were able to hang out with the children there, and we first we had a presentation by the principal or the director. I can't remember her title, and she told us about what goes on there, and then the students came and hung out with us for a while, and we played some games with them, and we drew pictures of them, and they drew pictures of us, and we talked about what home meant to them, and drew pictures of home, and one of the students in particular actually drew a picture of the wall, and an ambulance, and an Israeli soldier, and a hurt person being taken in the ambulance, and the person who had done that activity with him, and who was given that drawing by him. That was, I think, very powerful for them to see that this is how someone else thought of their home. And then we met with someone from an organization called the Bereaved Families Group, something like that. Bereaved and Families was the title. And that was made up of Israelis and Palestinians who have had a relative die in the conflict. And there's something very, very powerful, I think, about the victims of a conflict from both sides coming together. And so he talked about meetings he would have in Israel where, the victim of a terrorist attack in Israel, not the victim, the family, the relatives of a victim of a terrorist attack in Israel would be meeting with him, and his daughter had been shot and killed by an Israeli soldier. So for me, just alone, that there would be someone who would have, a close relative shot by the Israeli army, and then would, dedicate his life to nonviolent activism and peace efforts between Israelis and Palestinians, I found really inspiring as well.